Recently, actually, and I share something so deep with you guys. Recently, actually, I texted Amu's dad, and I'm like, I think it's time we have a conversation because I genuinely want a healthy relationship with the father of my child or my children, despite any differences. At the end of the day, I want my kids to look back and not say, mommy was being spiteful, mommy was being. What's up, chick? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a newbie, a warm welcome to you. And if you're a regular, what's up, baby? What it do, baby? Welcome back. Today's video is basically how I started being a Christ follower, how I actually got into the church that I got into, my journey with Christ. I wrote down a few notes on my book. If you're a real one, guys, the lighting is quite shaky. It's quite shaky, but we'll manage because the weather is on and off. Meaning the sun is out, but it's fine. But I just wanted to share with you guys, and what inspired this video was one day when I woke up and I'm like, girl, I'm proud of you. I've been saying that without giving context. I posted on my WhatsApp. I even said it in my previous vlog. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. Thank you. I did say that I am proud of myself. And I think one day I just woke up, one of these days, I think it was last week, and I'm like, girl, I'm so proud of you. And I'll explain why, and this video will make sense as to why I'm saying I'm proud of myself. Okay, so let's start from the fact that all my life, right, I grew up in my mom's church. I was born there. Amu also started off there. When he was born, he was going there. I grew up there, right, going there with my family, with my mom. And I think I need to put the disclaimer that number one, they do not believe in Christ. They acknowledge his presence, that he was once there, but they do not believe in him, right? There were things that I didn't understand. And in my defense, I tried. Guys, I've always been a church girlie. I've always wanted a relationship with God. I've always went to church more than anyone in amongst my siblings. It was always me. I'd go to the workshops. I'd go to practices. I'd go to, I was really like, I've always been that girl. I've always been a God girl. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, my circle is actually filled with people that believe in Christ, people that read the Bible, right? So in my previous church, they do not read the Bible. They have their own, a lot of things. They did a lot of things that I just failed to understand as I grew older. And hence I'm saying, in my defense, it's not something that I just sat at home and I was just like, I'm not getting involved. No, I tried with that church. I really tried. And this thing of like churches or people telling you that if you leave, you're always gonna come back. So rather not leave. If you leave, your life is gonna go ABC, left, whatnot. That's what they would do. And the thing is that I didn't appreciate, and not to bash the church, the thing that I didn't appreciate was the fact that when you'd ask questions, like there were certain questions that felt like you couldn't ask. I remember during workshops, like people would ask certain questions that they themselves couldn't answer. And I was like, if this is not making sense to you guys as the leaders, as the elders of the church, how do you expect it to make sense to us as the youth? So slowly but surely I started like finding my feet, trying to find my feet. And I think it started with in varsity, right? And my mom has this thing that I left because of Amu, and I was embarrassed because I had a child. I was not embarrassed. I would go to church with Amu. I would go to church with Amu with my head held high. Do you understand what I'm saying? It was not even embarrassment. No, it was never that. I just started feeling like I'm not connecting with God the way I want to. And I always say to people, stay where you are comfortable, stay where it makes sense. And the thing is, even with the Bible, people will be like, but this and this doesn't make sense. To me, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense. If Palms says do not drink water. And then Exodus says, go and drink water. It makes sense because I'm there. That's where I am. That's where my heart is. That's where I feel safe. That's where I feel like I'm connecting with God. That's where I feel like um it's making sense to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm seeing changes in myself, within myself, in my life. You know, that's where I'm seeing God. That's where I'm feeling God's presence. You know, so I always say to people, you can move to churches and say, I'm not gonna understand. But if you find a church, you're not gonna understand everything. And I remember a church they were preaching this other day that there's certain things, it's just even in life, there's certain things, guys, that will never make sense. There's certain things that will never make sense, number one. Number two, there's certain things that you should not know. And I was always of the notion of, what do you mean I should not know this? But until I realized, and life taught me that there are certain things that you shouldn't know. And that's okay. That's okay. As long as you're comfortable, as long as you feel like this is home, stay there. You know, so I'm surrounded by people who would go to Christ, and I started going through things in my own life, and I started feeling like, oh, guys, I'm going through this. And people would just be like, give Christ the chance, read the Bible, you know, because for me in my previous church, there was nothing I could reference to. You know, like if I'm feeling sad, what am I going to do? Pray. That's not enough. Yes, pray, definitely. That's more than enough. Yes. But I just need to hear someone, you know, and I started slowly but surely. My friends would send me like Bible scriptures, sermons, you know, and I started feeling like, wow, okay, 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 okay. And in all of it, there's Christ, there's the Bible, these scriptures, you know, these Bible verses. And I was like, okay, I'm slowly leaning towards Christ. I'm slowly leaning towards this other side because I so want a relationship with God. I so want to feel like, hey, I was yearning for it, you know? And I'm glad I did because it's got me where I am today. I remember this one time, it was the 31st of December. I just forgot which year. I forgot which year, but I'm going to write it down here. And I said, I'm giving Christ a chance. I said, I'm giving the Bible a chance. I'm giving this. On the 31st, I remember I was with my friends, the ladies, and we're at Kopano's house for the 31st. I remember, and we got into that year with praying, and that's where my journey started with Christ, you know. And slowly but surely, I'd introduced the idea to my mom, but it was not easy, guys. Hence, I said in my previous video, it's been a tough journey. It's not easy, you know. My mom obviously was not having it, you know, like, dude, what are you doing? What's wrong? And the thing about it is, like I'm saying, and I'm going to keep on emphasizing, is the fact that I'm surrounded by people that are just Christ this, Christ that. You know, a huge person who played a huge role in the church that I'm in is obviously the person I was seeing, right? And Baby K's grandfather. Because I remember would always have conversations about God all the time till date. There's no way where I will see Baby K's grandfather and we do not speak about God Christ somewhere in our conversation. You know, so I started like being interested in like finding a church, you know, and I knew that in as much as I wanted so much to be with my friends, I knew deep down, I always knew that that's not where I belong. And that's simply because I just from a distance I could see that this is not where I'm gonna connect. Where I'm gonna connect is mostly, I hope this doesn't sound bad or whatever, but in mostly like a black church where we sing like Tswana songs, you know. Is it native languages? But yeah, you know, Zulu songs, Tswana songs, you know, not necessarily like English, 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 English. You know, I know that sounds like, is that why you go to church? No, but I just knew that I was not gonna connect there, right? And so many times I'd be like, okay, let's go, let's do this, or Celine come, and it just never happened, you know, until I started going to the church that I'm at right now. And I'd be like, to Baby K's grandfather, what church do you go to? You know, you tell me this about the church, whatever, including my partner at the time, right? Okay, cool. I eventually got into the church. Um, hey, things started changing, guys. Things started changing. I was happy. Obviously, when you're beginning, you're still confused, right? You're still confused. What's going on? And the thing about it is, I went there alone. I'm alone, and I've got a child with me, right? you can imagine, I'm thinking all kinds of things. First and foremost, I'm used to going to church as a family. Waking up, we're getting ready all together. Whatnot. Obviously, mom is shouting, hey, we're late. Driving to church all together as what? As a family. But understand now, I'm in this new environment. I'm doing it as a mother because here I am with a child that's young. It was tough, guys. It was tough. And there were moments where I felt like, God, I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I feel so alone. Yes, I'm starting to like, know people, but I miss my family. I remember there was this 25th of December where I was just really sad. I went to church, but I was sad. I was like, damn, I'm not used to this. I think it was my first Christmas without spending it without going to the previous church. And I felt so, I'm like, God, am I making the right decision? Am I making the right decision? I hope I'm not putting my child at risk, whatnot, whatnot. What if my life just starts going bad again? I started having all those thoughts. And it was bad because obviously now you're not always going to be okay. Or you'll have fights with your partner or whatever. And now it's awkward. Now I feel like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Now I'm alone. You brought me here. Because there were times, so many times where I felt like, you brought me here and now you're just deserting me. You know what I'm saying? But that's just a story for another day. Also, I don't, it's not that deep because I'm really over it. But I'm just speaking about the emotions that I felt at the time. And to say that all those emotions are valid, number one. Number two, they are completely normal, right? At first, obviously, you're going there as a follower because you don't know. And then when the person that you're following and you now have a fallout or whatever, it becomes tricky because now you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just lost. What am I doing here? Should I go back? Should I go back where my mom is? Because obviously, if she shouts at me, it's not like now it's chai or we're not gonna speak to you. No, we're still gonna go in the same car. She's still gonna buy me food if we're buying food on that day. That type of vibe. And just knowing that you have family there. So for quite some time, guys, it was difficult. It was extremely difficult. Um, counting the fact that it's far, and money wise, at that time, yes, I was in varsity. I was getting allowances and all of that. It was not as bad, but as it goes, it's getting till date. It's difficult. It's difficult. I always have to ask my friends for money. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I finally gotten to a point where it's all worth it. Like, guys, I'm not the type, honestly, to go a month without doing my nails, but it's been months. It's been months because I'd rather get 300 to go to church than 300 to do my nails. Here's a different chat again. Here's a different chat. Hey, here's a different chat. But it's worth it. And that's all that matters when you feel like this that I'm doing, where I'm at right now, is so worth it. And there was a time where I had to leave, or I don't want to talk about it, but I had to now join a different branch. So I was basically starting over from where I was first at, right? Same church, same whatever, but a different branch, right? I won't say why, but you know. So I had to move from where I'm now becoming comfortable. Now I'm comfortable around these people. I know these faces now. I know who's who. I know what's what. I know the songs. I know this and that. And then now I'm taken aback, and now I have to start afresh with a different branch, with a different community, doing all of this alone, right? And at the time, I was also pregnant. Yeah, I was also pregnant, right? So I couldn't even go to church much. It was a lot. I'd get tired. I was alone. All those emotions started coming back. All those emotions started coming back. I need to go to church. I need to wake up. I need to prepare. I'm tired. My tummy is this big. But I want to be there. I want to be there. In as much as there's all these obstacles, there's all this. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling abandoned. But I want to be there. And that's when I knew that this is where I belong. There were times where I was supposed to get baptized. I think it was 3 times in the first branch that I was at, and it never happened. And I was like to my friends, it's not happening. And I don't know why. I don't get the reason as to why it's not happening. Until I moved to this branch that I'm at right now. And I got baptized when it was time for me to get baptized. So also to say that, guys, Everything happens for a reason. And that's how I've started looking at life. Everything happens for a reason. There's going to be obstacles that are going to challenge your decision, good or bad. Let me not rather not say bad, but good. And you're gonna start to feel like, oh my gosh, is this the right decision I made? Yes, it is. Stick it through. It's so worth it. Especially the Christ decision. It is so worth it. Believe you me, it is so worth it. And I was even talking to my priest today, and I was telling him my dreams. Like I always tell you guys that I've got dreams and whatever, whatever, whatever. And he's like, the thing about it is, I wish you could come to church more often. You know, church is not just on a Sunday. Church is not just on a Saturday. Church is constant work, especially at the church that we're in, you know, because there's services, different types of services during the week, right? And it's like you need to attend those. You need to, 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 you know. And I'm just like, I'm trying. I'm trying to get solutions. I'm trying to. There was a time where I even thought of taking taxis to church, and that's when I knew that, guys, I hate town. Anyone who knows, I hate MTN. I Uber from here to church. I need 300. Whenever you guys see me at church, just know that I spent about 300. Just know I spent about 300. And it also kills me sometimes because I can't go with Amu because I know that I'm probably going to eat like once, which is like chips, you know? And it's like, then why don't you let Amu? Is baby cake crying? And then I'm also challenged again to say, why don't you just let Amu go to your mom's church? And I'm just like, no, I'm gonna stick this through. I'm gonna find a way, you know. And when I can, I make sure I go with Amu there. You know, right now I even started like packing lunch boxes and stuff because I'm just trying to make that effort to be like, this is where I wanna go. And it's so deep because Sundays, if I don't go to church, I remember telling my mom there was this Sunday, was it last week? The Easter Sunday. And I was just up and down hustling for money from my friends, like, guys, can I have 50 rand? What not, what not? And mom was like, dude, if it's not working out, it's not working. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give up. That's simply what I'm not going to do because if I don't go, my heart is gonna be sore. The Sunday that I'm gonna have is gonna be horrible. Horrible. So yes, the challenges that I face, and that's what I'm saying, it's not easy because I feel alone at times. And certain things will just make me feel like giving up. Not so long ago, I think it was a few weeks ago, I just felt like, let me just leave. You know, let me just sit. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here because the monies I'm spending, the stress of like going there. I want to go to church constantly. I want to participate. I want to be in choirs. I have a baby. When I get to practice, I'm tired. She's needy. She's this. Amu, if I go with Amu, Amu's also needy. He's gonna want food. You know, so all those challenges, I just sit back and I'm like, but it's worth it. Because I come back feeling so happy. I come back feeling so peaceful, you know, peace that nothing can ever give me, honestly speaking. And that's what reminds me every single time I feel like maybe I shouldn't be here, that I should be here. Because this is where I feel at peace. This is where I feel like my life is changing. And the thing about God is, guys, I feel like I'm in a season of God preparing me and aligning me with my purpose. And I feel it because the thing is, guys, when you see that you're changing, when you see that you're no longer doing things, obviously you're going to relapse at times. Everyone relapses, right? If you're a person like, for me, for instance, I used to be a person that would cuss. If you piss me off, I cuss. I do this. My words, I've got very strong, mean words, right? But I've tried, I've worked on that. But there will come times where like I'm tested and I give myself grace. You know, I give myself grace. Recently, actually, and I share something so deep with you guys. Recently, actually, I texted Amu's dad and I'm like, I think it's time we have a conversation because I genuinely want a healthy relationship with the father of my child or my children, you know, despite any differences. At the end of the day, I want my kids to look back and not say, mommy was being spiteful, mommy was being petty, but easier said than done because these people can really hurt you to a point of no return, to a point of resentment. But I was like, I made a decision. I'm like, I want to be Christ like. I want when people look at me, they're like, Girl, what church do you go to? Girl, you speak life. Girl, this, girl, that, you are light. I want people to see that in me. That is my goal. That is what I'm working towards. And not to say that I'm doing it for people. No. Yeah, I hit almost that up and I was like, dude, this is how you've made me feel. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just want to have the relationship. Can we work towards that? I'm sorry for how on my end, if I've done things but let's just work on a healthy relationship. And I told him the things that have hurt me, the things that I felt like he wasn't doing, or whatever the case is. And I felt so good after that. And I'm like, this is a step. Trust me, it is a step. Trust me. It is a huge step for me. And I'm like, this is what I want. I just want to be a healthy person. I want to be a happy person. I want to be a peaceful person. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to resent people. I want to look at people and say, if someone does something to me, I want to be able to look at that person and say, it's okay. It's on you. It has nothing to do with me. Let me move on. Let me move away from whatever you've done to cause me pain. But obviously easier said than done. And the thing is about God, guys, God will give you what you ask for all the time. The one prayer you guys know I always, can I have a forgiving heart? Can I forgive those who have hurt me? All the time, because I'm very emotional. I love. And the thing is, when you're a good person, you don't understand people's actions towards you, because you're like, I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do something so vile, something so evil to someone. So why would you do it to me? Not understanding that it is not their time yet. And that's okay. It is not their time, but it is my time. It is my time now. And whatever does not align, that's to go, baby. Got to go. So, what I can really say from the bottom of my heart is, I'm aligning with my purpose. There's a lot of things that are going to change, a lot of things, and I don't want to put them out there before actually implementing them, because I see that a lot of people do that. Like, oh, I'm going to stop doing this. Oh, I'm going to stop doing this. And then 2 months down the line, they're doing it. And that's okay. Also, that is fully okay, because we're bound to make mistakes. Who did not make mistakes? And I think what's also helping me, and it's because of Mbali MKH, she suggested a series, The Chosen. It's also there on the Bible app. That series is teaching me a lot. It's teaching me about Jesus Christ. A lot of things. I think it gives you an idea of what the Bible is about and the things that are being spoken about in the Bible. So I think for a starter, I would suggest that movie. I would really suggest that movie. There were things that I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. Like, for instance, people were like, Jesus turned water into wine. I finally saw that, and it was so good. It's so good to be like, oh, I read about that, or I've heard about it. And it's like, oh, this is what they were talking about when Jesus turned into thing. And I remember Jesus was like, it's not my time yet. And his mom was like, if not now, then when? And I was like, this is the one. That series is really nice. It's really nice. It also taught me that there's this thing on Twitter, guys, now, or just the social media. People will be like, um, you've got high vibration when kids love you, and when there's dogs, animals. Guys, it's true. It is actually true, because children were very drawn to Jesus Christ. Even Jesus Christ himself loves children. Obviously, he loves us all because but children loved Jesus Christ, loved him. And I was like, okay, this is what we're talking about. And I feel like I also have that. I've got a lot of signs that I've got high vibrational or babies. But yeah, that's one thing cannot take away from me, baby. I will love kids and kids will love me. A lot of things are gonna change. A lot of things, I don't want to do things. I don't want to sin. Obviously you sin every day and God forgives, but I always say that the biggest sinner is the one who knows. If you know that this is wrong, you are worse than someone who's doing the exact same thing but doesn't know. If you know that this is a sin and you're doing it, my baby, I'm no one to judge, but you know. And I remember having a conversation with my brother, right? Because he's also now in a different religion, and I was like, "You guys respect your religion," and he's like, "It's because we're afraid of the afterlife," and I'm like, "Deep." Do we as Christians sit and be like, oh, we're just living for the now? Like, whatever's going to make you happy. Do we ever think of what's going to happen to us? When we're doing all these things, yes, God is a forgiver, don't judge, whatnot, whatnot. But guys, the afterlife, do you ever think about that? And I was like, wow, that's actually so deep. That's so deep. And that's when I was like, I really, really want to follow like the footsteps of Jesus Christ. I genuinely want to, from the bottom of my heart, guys. It's now even in my prayer to be Christ like, to be kind, to be compassionate, to put um, people's needs there, for people to feel safe around me, to be kind, to give life to people, And I realized that that's what I need in my life. That's what I want in my life. Such people, such a partner, I need that in my life to make me also reach my purpose, So that's why I'm saying God will realign, God will shift things because He's preparing you for what you're supposed to do. And if that thing or whatever surroundings are not complementing that, they will shift. They will have to go and make way for those who will align you to your goal. So yeah, I'm happy with where I am. I am extremely happy. Um, I want to stop a lot of things. Actually, I have a lot of things that I used to do. Going out, you know, visual, heavily bubbly, like all those things. I just want to be a good person. I want to be a good mom. Hey, Banja, do you understand what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't want to jinx things. But I'm trying. I'm trying my utmost best, and that's been my journey, guys. That's been my journey. I still have challenges. Like for instance, I did say that I want to go to church all the time when there's something happening. I want to go to practices. I want to go to this. I want to go to this. But like I said to my priest, that I will make a plan. Whether it means I will be finding somewhere to sleep that's close to there, I will do it. Whether it means I must be taking taxis, I will do it because I want to be there. I want to finally align with what I'm supposed to do. I want my kids to look back and say, Mommy tried. Mommy was a prayer warrior. I want them to say that. I wanted to be emphasized that I was a prayer warrior. I loved God. I loved Jesus Christ. So that has been my journey. One day I do believe that this channel will do big things. I believe so. um Baby K's grandfather was always like, why don't you speak about our church? Why don't you have a podcast about, like, podcast kind of about our church? And in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I will get there. I will get there where I have a podcast, and I'll come back to this video, where I have a podcast about my church, where I will be giving history, where I'll be doing what. For now, I'm still learning. I'm still giving myself time. Um, and yeah, basically, guys. But hey, man, it's been tough, but it's so worth it. Everything is worth it. But oh, the last thing I also wanted to say, there was something I posted on my WhatsApp today. It said about, was it King or David? Someone was anointed as a king at the age of 14 or 10 years. I'll just put it here. And obviously they couldn't claim their position. They claimed their position after 20 years or something while he was preparing for it. And in my heart of hearts, I believe there's something I'm anointed for, but it's still brewing. I'm still too young, but not really. Okay, not really. I also believe that spiritually, I could be older than someone who's been in that church, who grew up in that church. That's the thing about God, and that's the thing about following God. How much work you put in, how much you're willing to understand, how much you're willing to go all the way in. So I might be young in years, but spiritually, in physical years, but spiritually, I don't think I'm young. I don't think I'm young, but not to blow my own horse, but there's somewhere where God is taking me, and I can't wait to get there. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and please subscribe if you haven't. Goodbye.